Hey, welcome to Krishna Monks. My name is Braj, or Brajananda Das. I wanted to make this first video here as an introduction to my own life and also why we created Krishna Monks. First off, a lot of people ask me, how did you get to where you are? How did you become a practicing monk? And so it's a long story. I'm going to try to keep it short. But ever since I was a child, I have been very artistic. I used to play in bands. I used to paint. I used to like to read stories and write stories, songs, so on and so forth. So I was always into some philosophical discussion or philosophical humor. And when I was in college, in my first year, I had an experience, a psychedelic experience, which led me to dig deeper. And I had some deep realizations about spirit and the connection of all beings with divinity, with God, how that all the different religions of the world are different expressions of the one same divine being, and that these were all experiences people had, and they expressed them in their own way, in their own language. I had this realization, which is completely contrary to what perhaps I had grown up thinking like. And soon after that, I was at a concert, the Warped Tour concert, and I got a book from a traveling monk, and it was a Bhagavad Gita. And right after seeing one of the pictures, I just knew that this was something profound, that I'd somehow or other had an experience that it reminded me of this psychedelic experience, reminded me of what I was viewing in this book, and it was this message of self-realization. And so I bought it right away. I didn't read it right away. When I first looked at it, it seemed quite foreign to me. I even, I tried, but it just didn't click with me. So between that point and dropping out of college because I wasn't so interested in it anymore, I just wanted to play in a band or, make art. And somewhere between there, I read a bunch of other books, philosophical books, that were pointing towards Eastern philosophy, meditation, and self-realization. These topics just kept coming up. So I actually decided to move to Florida at some point, and this is a time in my life where I went through a lot of different experiences, which ultimately led to me getting another book at another concert and having my first experiences with Hatha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, meditations, so on and so forth. So this is all leading up to one event that happened where in a very short amount of time I lost everything in one or 2 weeks, a place to live, my car, girlfriend. I was already dropped out of school, so I had no obligations. So I actually moved to Tallahassee, Florida, from St. Augustine, Florida, and I was living on my friend's couch pretty much, and I started to visit different schools of thought, some more Kundalini Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Buddhist meditation, a bunch of other, I visited a bunch of other schools of thought, and ultimately led me to meeting the practitioners of Bhakti Yoga. I was a vegetarian, and they were serving lunch, and I also met this other fellow who had this yoga center where he was teaching a mix of the different yogas, but ultimately he was teaching that when you do these other yogas with Bhakti Yoga, it takes you to a whole other level, a whole higher level. So I had some other experiences with chanting, Hare Krishna and other mantras. But Hare Krishna was always a mantra that really stuck with me. George Harrison from the Beatles, obviously, big influence in that realm. He chanted Hare Krishna and was big into it and used to travel to India. So I was very interested in that. I also started to research sustainable agriculture and living simply. I just knew the world was either going to end soon, something. I was researching all these conspiracy things, these theories, and I was starting to get a little, well, not worried, but just wanted to prepare for whatever was going to happen, which is inevitable, which I still think is inevitable, economic crash or something along those lines. I wanted to be prepared, so I decided to move into an ashram, a yoga ashram, or that's a house of study. The word ashram means house of study. So I moved to a place called New Vrindavan, where I was able to learn about more of the Bhakti Yoga philosophy or the Vedic philosophy, and also about chanting and that whole lifestyle. And I was also able to learn a lot about sustainable agriculture. That was my first service there, was on the farm. And it's not like I just, shaved my head and started wearing robes right away. I had really long hair and I tied it up in a yogi bun. And I was just doing, just learning, and I was very open-minded. I was making spiritual advancement. I could see through my service. And then after that, I got to a point where I wanted to learn. Well, actually, I wanted to pay off some debt that I had, so I would be free from that. So I went and did some labor for my mother. And then when I was there, I decided, I think I should give this ashram thing a chance. Actually, I'd never moved into the ashram. I was just living in a farmhouse. But the option was there, and I was a little hesitant because I wanted to learn more about the society and the Guru, Bhaktivedanta Swami, and before I, devoted myself to this path of bhakti. But I got to the point where I was just convinced after reading the Bhagavad Gita and other books associated with it, and I decided to move to Gainesville, Florida, which was really good because I was able to learn more about the books and go deeper into the practice. So I decided to shave my head and and move into the ashram, which was the best idea I ever had. And it was funny because actually it was always within me to say, yeah, this is what you got to do, but I never wanted to accept it. For the longest time I was just resistant towards it, but then it came clear to me that this is what you should do. And I understand also another thing which is very important about practicing bhakti, that it's not about becoming a monk. It's not about that at all. It's about becoming self-realized. And wherever you are, whatever circumstance you're in, whether you're a student or a lawyer or you're a vet or you're a farmer, whatever, you're a yogi, whatever you're at, if you're engaged in some duties, just do that, and also add Krishna consciousness, add chanting Hare Krishna, add cultivating knowledge. And in this way, everything you do, if you put that in the center, everything you do is going to follow that. So, you can do your job or whatever and then make spiritual advancement. You don't necessarily need to move into an ashram. If you can, great. If you can, that's awesome. And I think you should do it. But a very important thing about becoming a Krishna monk is that you can become Krishna monk within. So it's a very important thing. George Harrison, for example, he was a musician, and he never gave up his position. He just added that to the consciousness behind his music. And you can see, especially in the 70s, a lot of his music is reflecting that, even in the 60s, late 60s. So, and there's many other examples, many other great examples of this. But that's a very important fact and a very important lesson I learned, because when I first started, I thought, hey, everyone should just become a monk, forget about all this world stuff, forget about the system, and, screw that. Everyone should just shave up and become a monk. And then I realized, oh, not everyone can even do that. like, if they even tried to do that, they'd probably only do it for a day or a week at most, and then they'd flip out and probably go back to what they were doing and, forget about the lifestyle because they think it's too high. But that's not what it's about. I always encourage anyone, wherever they're at, just add Krishna consciousness and see where it takes you. Just try it. Just use it. Scientific experiment. Spiritual scientific experiment. Hare Krishna. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll have a lot more videos and go into other subjects and bring some light into the world.